So, what is vision? A brief introduction. Vision for innovation, also known as innovation. For the purposes of this class, we're going to be calling it innovation. Innovation. It is a strong impression in our minds of an imaginary reality of a new viable offering. Remember, innovation is simply a new viable offering. So, vision for innovation is simply a strong impression in our minds of an imaginary reality of a new viable offering. It has to be a strong impression. It has to be a strong impression. It has to be imaginary. Of course, it is something that exists in the future and it has to be real to you. Reality, it has to be real to you. If you're undertaking any project and you want to create a solution out of a problem, out of a challenge, that vision you have must be real to you. That's what makes it a vision in the first instance. It's something you're seeing. Other people may not be able to see it, but you should be able to be seeing it as the leader of the team. It is the distance between a problem and the solution. Now, this is a problem you either have discovered or a problem you owe. You have owned it because by virtue of you working in the company or something, but you have discovered this problem or you have owned it. A simple Google explanation says the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. There is the imagination piece, there is the wisdom piece. We're going to see this both, especially the wisdom piece, by the time we get into the what we call the vision brief. You must apply your imagination, you must also apply your wisdom. Why do you need to create a vision for your innovation task? I have identified four reasons why you do need an innovation. Number one, you want to eventually succeed at creating the solution. You don't want to just create any solution, you want to create the solution. The solution. Why? Is because without a vision, you may eventually create a solution, but it may not be the solution, the particular solution which customers will really need to buy or would want to buy. You may eventually create a solution, but not the solution to that problem which the customer has. A vision keeps you on track and helps you to be focused to create that particular solution which solves that particular need of the customer. Number two, create it within the right amount of time. This is another reason why you need a vision for innovation because you want to use the right amount of time to create the solution. You want to create it with the right amount of resources. Without a vision, you can use all the resources, including time resources. You can use all your resources to complete the task, go beyond even the resources to complete the task. But with a vision, you don't have to use every resource. You only use the resource that has been earmarked and budgeted for the project. That's what a vision helps you to achieve. Then you want to be in the same mission with your team. Without a vision, everybody in your team may not be on the same page. You have different purposes and different missions. So by the end of the day, people are in anarchy. The team is in anarchy because they're pursuing different purposes. So you want to have a vision that is written down in a vision brief, which you're going to see shortly, which every member of the team will look at, will understand where you're headed, and will follow suit. Whose responsibility is it to manage a vision? Responsibility for vision. I think that it is the team lead that has the responsibility to design a vision for the innovation. I think it is the role of the team lead to design the vision for the innovation. And there is what we call innovation personalities. Since we are talking innovation, there are personalities which the innovation leader needs to have. These personalities will make him a very great visionary. So if you're an innovation leader, you need to have at least two of these personalities to be a great visionary. I'm going to explain them. If you need to, make sure you have at least two of them. If you don't, work at getting at least two of these skills or all of them at best, if possible. Anthropologists. Anthropologists are persons that are positive and enthusiastic about finding new ways of improving the way people make use of their products or services. They want to find how people make use of their products and their services. They are positive about it. They're finding new ways. They're finding new ways. They always study to discover. They're able to see things that go unnoticed with great intuition to come up with new innovations. Things that may go unnoticed, the anthropologist picks them up. They study the clients, they study the users. They want to understand really how they make use of the products and the services. They want to devise new ways that they could actually solve problems for the customers. Hodler. Hodler. Who is a hodler? These are optimistic persons. They're ardent believers in their pursuits and in their dreams. A visionary needs to be a hodler. He needs to really believe that he is able to crack the challenge, no matter how much time it takes. He wants to be the person that believes in the dream, that is able to go ahead against all odds to achieve the task. That is the hodler. You cannot discourage him. He is always focused. He is able to go through every obstacle that is required to achieve the vision. Collaborator. These are the persons that desire the team approach rather than a group approach. There is a difference between a team and a group. A team is looking at the same vision. They are on the same mission. They are on the same mission. They are one. That is the collaborator. While a group can have different teams in it, you don't want to lead a group. You want to lead a team, especially when it has to do with an innovation project. Now, they always gather multidisciplinary skills in an attempt to solving the innovation problem. They don't like to work in silos. The collaborator wants to gather a multidisciplinary team. He doesn't want to work in silos. Now, who is the director? Who is the director? The director is the person that has a big picture understanding of the organization, a big picture understanding of the organization, and is capable to get things done by organizing people and resources, of course. That is the director. He is the person that has this ability to administrate, be able to lead others, co-workers, everything. He's able to understand what every person is passing through, temperament of every person, and align them to the purposes of the project. Then the storyteller, interestingly, the visionary is a person that is able to create authentic experiences using stories. He is able to motivate others and transmit values through their communication abilities and tools. A visionary is able to tell stories. He's a good storyteller. He's able to motivate others by sharing authentic experiences. Now, these are innovation personalities of a visionary. Make sure you have at least two of these and be intentional about building up these abilities in you. Roles in casting and innovation. What are the roles you play in casting and innovation? What are the steps? Number one, you want to create a vision. After creating the vision, what is next? You want to be able to articulate this vision. You want to be able to communicate it to members of your team. Then you want to passionately own the vision. You want to own this vision. Then you want to relentlessly drive it to completion. You want to passionately own it and you want to relentlessly drive it to completion. Passionately owning the vision means that if someone is looking at you, everything about you is speaking to that vision. Everything about you is saying, this is what this guy is headed towards achieving. Without you even having to talk about it, anybody looking at you can tell that you're going about achieving this purpose. That is what it means to passionately own the vision. They want to relentlessly drive to its completion. You are the hodler. You don't see obstacles. Even if obstacles are there, you're devising ways to surmount the obstacles. What are the consequences of no innovation, of no vision for innovation? Number one, confusion and frustration. A project can take you to many points and lengths not imagined. That is something you have to put at the back of your mind. If you want to create innovation, just understand that it can take you to ways you never imagined. It can lead to frustration if you do not have a blueprint to keep you on track. You must have a blueprint to keep you on track, even from the beginning or before the beginning of the project. You need to have a blueprint. Otherwise, you're going to be confused, you're going to be frustrated. Loss of resources. You know the popular Parkinson's law that says the amount of resources available for completion of a project would actually get expended in that project. Work expands to consume the available resources for its completion. You need a vision to keep you in check. You need a vision to keep you in check. Without a vision, all the resources you have will be expended trying to complete that project. So you need a vision, you need something to keep you on track. Team disunity. This goes without saying. You know that if there is no agreed vision that every team is working on, every other member of the team is at liberty to have their own vision and they can see the project very differently. So you want everybody to be on the same vision. You want everybody to be pursuing the same purpose. And how you want to make that to happen is by simply making the vision very clear, articulating it so that every person on your team will be about the same thing. You'll be speaking the same language and your minds are made up to achieve the same thing. Otherwise, people are going to see differently and they're going to assume things innocently differently. And that is going to ultimately lead to team disunity. And of course, you're not going to achieve anything in the end. Bad politics. You see people, having lack of common purpose in a team where there is no vision. People are going to be busy all the same. They're going to be busy and they're going to be dissipating energy in very different ways, in the wrong ways. So you want to prevent this. This is where people have rooms to gossip, to backbite. Bad organizational culture, vibes, and atmosphere will become the order of the day in your team because there is no vision. So you want to have a vision and you want to sort it out before you even start the project. And sometimes these are very important for you to have even before you compose the team for the project. What is vision brief? What is vision brief? Vision brief is simply just like your vision statement. It is a document that explains what your project is about and where you are headed. That is what a vision brief is about. So I recommend that you have a vision brief before you start your project. It explains the step-by-step approach towards getting to what you are seeing as a solution. Number one, you want to be able to describe the challenge. You want to be able to describe the challenge. What is your elevator speech about the challenge you want to solve? What is your elevation speech about the challenge you want to solve? How can you describe it in 30 seconds? You must be able to give a brief description of the challenge. If you cannot explain the challenge in very brief terms, that means you probably do not understand the challenge. And it is difficult for you to solve a problem you don't understand. So the first thing you want to do is in one sentence, two sentences, describe this challenge so that any layman can understand it. Number two, give an intent scope. Give an intent scope. What is the scope of the challenge? What is within this challenge and what is outside the boundaries of this project? What is within and outside the boundaries of this project? That is your intent scope. Because you do not want to start pursuing a project that is an innovation that is outside the scope of the problem in the first instance. So you want to be able to give an intense scope to it. Number three, you want to create exploration questions. Remember that the journey towards creating an innovation is like an exploration. You are searching out solutions to a particular problem. What are these golden questions you want to answer in your ultimate search? These are simply like your research questions. Towards achieving your vision, what are these research questions? What are these exploration questions? You have to be able to know them. Decide your target users. Decide your target users. Who are you creating this solution for? Whose problem is it that you're solving? You must be able to understand who they are. Otherwise, you're going to eventually create a solution that nobody wants to use because you didn't have anybody in mind while going about creating the solution. So you want to decide who your target users are. Have a research plan. What are the milestones and the timetable you have to answering those questions we talked about, those exploration questions? What is your blueprint to explore the opportunity space? You must have your timetable, you must have a plan for it. Have expected outcomes. Are there outcomes you would like to see? What are these expectations? This is where you talk about what are the expectations, what are the expected outcomes you want to see in this your innovation project. You want to outline them. We're going to look at an illustration, a brief illustration on how to use the vision brief. This is a brief case study. The coordinator of tuberculosis control program in Abia State, Nigeria, has submitted a challenge to your team. He believes that COVID-19 has forestalled case finding and case holding of tuberculosis patients in the state. Create a vision brief for your team. Now, you're the team lead. You want to start this project by creating a vision brief for your team. Let us start. You start by describing the challenge. And the description is simple. One sentence, you're saying we want to create innovative ways to increase case finding and case holding for tuberculosis in this COVID-19 era in Abia State. Now, case finding is simply about finding new cases, and case holding is simply about keeping those cases in treatment. Okay, so you have simply defined what the challenge is about. Now, the second thing you want to do is to give a scope to the challenge. The solution is expected to be a new technological approach to improve finding of TB patients and keeping them in treatment. It does not include new treatment modalities for TB. This is very definite, this is very simple. It tells us what is within the scope of our project and what is not within the scope of our project. Now, this helps you to keep you in check, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. What are the risks? So you want to create exploration questions, research questions. What are the questions you want to answer? Remember, this is so important because it is only when you have questions you want to answer that you have answers to them. You only get answers by asking questions. So, what questions are important in trying to create this solution? Number one, what are the risks of forestalling in TB case finding and holding? What are the risks? Is COVID-19 actually the main reason for the forestalling? To what extent is COVID-19 actually preventing TB case finding and holding? What are the core reasons why COVID-19 is forestalling TB case finding and holding? What are the main reasons? So these are the questions you want to create answers for. You want to search out answers to. Because when you get answers to these questions, they help you a lot in trying to get to the solution. Decide your target users. Our target users for this case would include tuberculosis facilities, that's the hospitals, anyone diagnosed with TB, anyone with tuberculosis like symptoms. These are going to be the users of your solution. Then you want to have a research plan. What is your research plan? In the first 2 weeks, we shall identify, trace, and interview 10 randomly selected tuberculosis patients in three randomly selected local governments of Abia State, Nigeria. In the following 2 weeks, we shall interview the program manager of the three major tuberculosis facilities in the state. In the following 2 weeks, we shall identify and interview at least three persons within the state who have not who have been coughing for more than 2 weeks. Now, this is the research plan. This is how you want to work towards creating a solution and answer to the exploration questions we 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 outlined earlier. Okay, your research plan is your plan towards creating answers to those exploration questions. Have expected outcomes. What is going to be our expected outcome? We plan to create a digital solution, create a prototype of it. The prototype has to be user friendly, has to be feasible, to be used by all parties, and it has to be scalable to be adopted all around the country. Also, it has to be affordable by the end users. These are the expected outcomes. You expect to be able to realize these outcomes. Create success matrix. So you want to find out the success matrix for this case. Did we find out the core reasons why COVID-19 is preventing case finding and case holding of tuberculosis? Did we find out to what extent prevention of case finding is actually being caused by COVID-19? In other words, what's the magnitude of the problem? To what extent is COVID-19 preventing case finding and case holding? You want to find this out. Do we have enough evidences to validate our findings? You can even add more success metrics, like were we able to create a prototype by the end of the day? Was our prototype accepted by our users, our potential users? So this could be your success matrix. You want to have success matrix for your innovation project. Now do a vision planning. This is where you talk about how your resources are going to be distributed and planned for. Two persons will work part-time for 10 hours weekly for the first 2 weeks. Two other persons will work for 10 hours for the second 2 weeks. The four team members will work for 10 hours for the following 3 weeks to conclude the interviews and do the data analysis. The following 4 weeks will be used to develop and test our prototype. We budget $300 each week for the project. Here you have talked about how you're going to use your time, your human resource, and your finance. Okay, that is vision planning. This helps you and it keeps you in check. Then finally, you want to, in one sentence, define what your innovation is, what your innovation vision is, your innovation. What is it? This is now your vision statement, the summary of all we've been talking about. Our vision is to create a prototype of a digital solution in 12 weeks' time. that will solve the problem of case finding and case holding of tuberculosis cases as caused by COVID-19. You can add in Abia State. You can also even bring in the amount of money involved in this. You can say our vision is to create a prototype of a digital solution in 12 weeks' time with no more than $300 that will solve the problem of case finding and case holding of tuberculosis cases as caused by COVID-19 in Abia State. So this is your vision brief. I believe that every project worth embarking on should have a vision brief, should have a vision where you are expected to get to by the end of the day. Do you have questions? Please feel free to send your questions or comments to ylfellowship@gmail.com. Thank you so much for participating in this class.